Welcome to the Tiger Performance Podcast, where we feature high-achieving entrepreneurs and coaches and share their performance journeys. Now, let's get started with the show.
Steve Adams here, founder and CEO of Tiger Performance and Medical Institutes. I'm the host of the Tiger Performance Podcast, where I talk with entrepreneurs, executives, and professionals about their unique stories and performance journeys. We've had genetics experts, Super Bowl athletes, game-changing health professionals, executives, and amazing entrepreneurs with stories that will inspire you. Okay, it's time to acknowledge our sponsor for today's episode. Our sponsor today is Tiger Medical and Performance Institutes. Our focus is on the mid-career high achiever who, at a time that they should be at their best, are starting to wear down from the pressure, stress, sleepless nights, and perhaps even burnout. Tiger's unique Decode 2.0 system helps successful leaders complete a transformative medical makeover without the time-consuming and confusing fads or biohacks, using our proven and proprietary system. Jeremy, the Tiger system is a personalized, genetic-based approach to anti-aging medicine. Through the integration of doctor care, health coaching, we help successful people regain mental and physical energy and reach a peak state of health today, while enabling them to sustain elite performance and health tomorrow, expanding their impact, extending their careers. The Tiger system is transforming lives today and creating better tomorrows. So what are you waiting for? Visit tigerpi.com today to learn more. I have a very fun episode planned here today. I have Dr. Jeremy Wise here of Rise 25, who has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. And we have flipped the script today, and he will be interviewing me. Dr. Jeremy, welcome to the Tiger Performance Podcast.
Steve, I'm excited. This is going to be a special episode. So we're going to talk about a year in review, all the lessons, all the great guests you've had on. And what sticks out to me, Steve, with what you just said before you launch into it, is burnout sticks out. Anyone who's like a high achiever, maybe on a weekly basis, forget about the career, burnout. Like, I know for me, it was 3 days this week of burnout, but, and then shift to health. Like, as people are more and more successful, they find this shift of what's important in my life. Right. And it shifts to health and longevity and spending time with family and kids and grandkids. And so there becomes that shift of that importance of the focus of, there was career, and then there was like, oh my God, I better get my health together. So I am a personal testimony. I love what you guys do. And so everyone check out tigerpi.com. And we're going to talk about, the first episode we'll talk about is recover from a crash without wasting your cash with Shane Smith. And the founding attorney at Shane Smith. So many good things about this episode. He talked about his journey through law school and an attorney and entrepreneurship. Talk about Shane.
Shane's a great guy. We met in a Dan Kennedy world, the marketing group that I've been part of for over a decade. And Shane is a brilliant entrepreneur first, lawyer second. He, grew up in a military family and was a lawyer in the military, had quite a career there, and then had this passion for justice for people that can't really advocate for themselves. And so he founded his firm, Shane Smith Law, and they're in Atlanta, Georgia, and they work in Atlanta, Georgia and North Carolina. And they really they help people who have had auto accidents or something bad happen in their life, and they really don't know where to turn. And Shane and his team come alongside them. And the unique thing about Shane is they actually have multiple aspects to their firm where they actually do life coaching. They help them get the right doctors. They do all of this stuff for them, not just get a legal outcome. They actually come around their life.
It's interesting because when I think of the Army, I don't think of attorneys, but I guess they have to have attorneys too. So
they do.
That's a unique career path. The next one is a new kind of crack with Dr. Alex Mosley, franchise owner, clinic director at specific chiropractic centers. And there was a lot of good things in this. You talk about a new kind of crack. You talk about different medical devices, computerized infrared thermography. You talked about the value of heart rate variability, and you may want to discuss that for a second because not everyone knows what that is and how important that is.
Yeah.
Talk about this one.
So Dr. Mosley is a delightful young woman in the Austin, Texas area. And the idea of the new kind of crack is, a lot of people think of chiropractors as where you get something cracked. Dr. Mosley is a lot like Tiger Medical, and it's a very root cause, evidence based process of chiropractic where they actually map your spine and see the hot spots through real imaging, and then that enables them to stop guessing and stop cracking randomly and go to work on the exact area where you need help. And that's really similar to Tiger Medical. That's what we do. We're root cause medical professionals who we're not guessing. We get right to the root of things. And so heart rate variability, what that is that's just, life comes at all of us in a very highly variable way. Okay. Life is not like a metronome when you take piano lessons and you have a rhythm. Okay. And so if life comes at you in a variable way, you need your heart to be able to flex with how life comes at you. People that have high heart rate variability, meaning the timing differences in the beat to beat beats of the heart, they're able to handle the verities of life much better than someone who has low HRV. Low HRV is associated with mental health disorders and all-cause mortality. High HRV is associated with longevity.
So just speak to that for a second, Steve. So you help people increase the HRV. What are some of the what are some of the things that you recommend?
Well, HRV is actually the foundational core to our program. In addition to all of the genetic testing and gut biome testing and brain imaging and everything we do, HRV and sleep are the two foundation pillars of what we do, because if you don't do those well, then it mitigates the impact of everything else we do. And so the way you improve HRV is first and foremost, you need biofeedback to be able to really know how to do this. But we do deep diaphragmatic breathing as a habit with our clients with a biofeedback device that shows them that they are getting into a peak state of heart rate variability and with something called coherence. So that's how it works. And the way you improve that is you do meditation, you improve what you eat, you get more fit, you hydrate, you deal with your emotional demons. All of that taken together improve your variability of your heart rate.
Yeah. And I would say, I don't care, Steve, how disciplined someone is. You need someone helping you in this journey, because when you wake up in the morning, things are busy and you don't have that person. I mean, even you look at the top athletes, they all have coaches, and they have coaches for every aspect of their lives, right? Because we need accountability. This is just assuming someone has a knowledge, and most of us don't. So, thanks for sharing some of that.
And I'd just like to add, Jeremy, Robin Sharma has a great quote. He goes, if you want to be in the 1% in terms of getting results, you have to do what 99% of the public is not willing to do. And one of those is to spend money on coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about building culture through relationships with Wayne Lavery, founder and CEO of Patient News. Again, a discussion on leadership, entrepreneurship, healthcare marketing sector, expanding from Canada to Chicago, and expansion in general, and some of the software is involved. I'd love for you to talk about this episode.
So Patient News is a great story. Wayne Lavery started this thing from scratch, I believe 25 years ago. He lives north of Toronto in Canada, and but his company services and helps dentists all across North America improve their marketing and improve their dental practice. And something that Wayne has done that's very unique, they have developed a proprietary marketing platform that dentists plug into their practice management system, and it does a lot of the marketing for them. And so Wayne has been able to build a great company. He's got a great culture up there in his company. Wayne is an expert at culture building from an entrepreneurial perspective.
What have you found, Steve? I mean, you've had a long entrepreneurship career. What has helped in culture with the companies and the people you've worked with?
Well, I agree with Dr. Wayne, or with Wayne. He talked about, hiring team members with unique skills that elevate the company, move it forward. And we've done the same thing. But the big thing that I did in my last company that scaled and had almost 1,000 employees was we we had three components, and this was really out of the research by Daniel Pink in a book called Drive. You need to have purpose. There needs to be a path to mastery with all of your employees in their respective jobs. And then you need to empower people. And so if someone comes in and they're able to buy into your purpose and be part of something bigger than themselves, and then you give them this major investment in them, make them better as a person and what they do in their job, this causes in them a desire to do more for you. And then you empower them in their job because they've been trained. And empowerment is one of the key things to get into a flow state and how to get group flow in a team. And so that's what I do in all of my companies. Those three things get put in, and then invariably within 90 days to 120 days, I'm getting peak performance.
Love it. Finding Happiness as an Attorney with Ben Glass, founder of Great Legal Marketing. Again, so much to love about this episode. And he talked about his faith led his family to adopt 4 kids. He talked about, just solving other people's problems and listening to them, prioritizing, and just building businesses.
Ben is a wonderful friend, also from the Dan Kennedy world. Ben he actually adopted 5 kids, and I believe several of them are special needs. This man is a saint. Him and his wife are. They live in the Northern Virginia area near DC. He's got a great personal injury law firm himself that does very well, but he also created Great Legal Marketing, which helps lawyers become more successful as marketers, because that's a kind of an oxymoron in the legal industry, or at least historically it's been. It's not as much now. But what he gives them, I heard this said by a friend, Scott Manning. He says, sell them what they want, give them what they need. And he is giving lawyers great legal marketing training. But what Ben does a great job of is life coaching. He helps these lawyers learn how to live a better life in addition to be great marketers.
Yeah. Next is Gaining Clarity and Living Out Your Purpose with Dr. Emily Letran, founder of Exceptional Leverage. And she spent time as a Malaysian refugee in a Malaysian refugee camp. You talked about resourcefulness, lessons learned, becoming a dentist, and much more.
Emily is an inspiring story. Her story of leaving Vietnam at 12 years old, leaving her family, and just the emotional impact of that, and then coming to America, not knowing a single word of English, and then just 25 years later, not even that, like 15 years later, mastering the language, finishing at UCLA Dental School, which is one of the most difficult schools to get into and then graduate from. She's an inspiring story, and it really ought to motivate Native Americans, meaning not in the traditional sense, but people who are born in the U.S. Look, this lady came over here with none of the advantages. And so it ought to challenge you to take advantage of where you grow up. Emily's a great coach. She has a couple of dental practices that perform at a high level, and she's also a coach to healthcare professionals and beyond.
Very inspiring. And we have Brian Kurtz, boosting your direct marketing, your relationships with Brian Kurtz. And he talks about in this the behind the scenes of Boardroom Success, which was, I think, a 9-figure company. Talked about the intentional dinners he has and some of the teachings and kind of the transition of different careers as well.
Brian is a direct marketing legend, along the lines of Dan Kennedy and John Carlton and Gary Halbert, and famous copywriters and direct response people. This was an enriching podcast because we went in a million directions, and Brian is a vast vault of wisdom. And, this was just a fun episode. Brian has a mastermind. He also has a group. People should check that group out if you're in the marketing space and want to learn from one of the best. Brian also did something unique. One of the questions on my podcast I ask everybody is, if you could have a fantasy career, what would it be? And Brian's the one that pointed out to me that you can find that fantasy in the lives of everybody you interview. They're already doing it. They just didn't realize it. And he pointed that out with me too, because I want to be a CIA operative, Division I basketball coach. And you can look at my life and see where I've done some of that.
Love it. Next one is how a former dentist became successful entrepreneur, with Dr. John Meese. And some of the things you talked about, his first job mowing lawns. And we all remember some of our first jobs and things we did, biggest mentors, healthcare, and how it's impacted his career.
Dr. Meese is a great story. He grew up in the Dakotas. Dad and I think grandfather were dentists. So he was the, good son and became a dentist and realized that he really loved being an entrepreneur more. And so while he still has multiple practices, he's an extremely successful dental entrepreneur. He's branched out now and is coaching, has a very big network through the Training Institute, working with dentists. So just a really great guy to know about.
The Team Training Institute. So check it out. The next one is getting what you desire from the universe through the law of attraction, Andrew Kaplan. And with this one, he talked about, it seemed like he was vulnerable in this one. So he talked about a bad breakup. He talked about, taking the readers through a journey, old brain versus new brain, and some of his advice along the way.
He did. Andrew got very vulnerable, and his origin story was what was interesting, because it led him to this work on attraction and manifesting and energetic, attraction. And this guy has written one of the most successful books in years. I mean, he went from nothing to, I think he sold over 100,000 copies of his book. And he's a no gimmick #1 on Amazon. And he's in the top 10 in Audible for the whole year that he published his book. And I started actually using the things that Andrew taught a year ago. And I'm going to tell you, as somebody who's very rational MBA analytic type guy, it stretched me, and I can point to some significant successes that came out of that. Yeah. So he's somebody some people are going to want to look into.
Yeah. And you say that because some of the stuff may seem a little woo-woo. Is that
correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. It stretches you. Yep.
Got it. Yeah. The next one is from B2B to H, how to prioritize human connection within your business, with Joshua Lee. And some of the things you talks about, just about the upbringing in Texas and his worldview in general and how that shaped it. He explains where the dopamine dealer title came from and how he prioritizes human connection, and just some of the successful things he's seeing in attributes in himself and others.
Well, Joshua B. Lee is a great guy. He also got vulnerable, also in terms of how he's ended up where he is in life. Great episode you should listen to. He also is one of the early innovators in online marketing, going way back to like 20 years ago. So if you want to be on LinkedIn and you want to be a successful marketer on LinkedIn, this is the person you need to listen to. Because, I put my guy through, we spent money with him, and he brings a human form of interaction into LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is something where I go days not looking into, because I get spammed so heavily. And he teaches a way to do it, which is human to human. And I look at those, and what he has works. So people should look at his stuff on LinkedIn.
What's a tip that you'd have for reaching out that maybe you've learned, maybe you do naturally, or you've learned from someone that it's, because we all get those kind of barrage of spam messages. So what's a tip for making it more of a human outreach?
Well, ask a question, thank someone and ask a question that is not an obvious question sucking them into a sales funnel, but just a human question. Because, when I connect with someone, when I accept someone, and then I get this 3-page thing with 5 links telling me all about them, I automatically ignore them. But when somebody connects with me and then it writes it back and it's obvious they wrote it, I'll respond to that. That's what he teaches.
Yeah. Steve, it's funny. I don't remember where I saw it, but there was someone who would take social messages that he got incoming, and he'd go to someone on the street face to face and read them and see the reaction. Right. So if you think about what you said, like if you said, hey, like, how's your day going? That's like a normal, I'd go up to you and said it. But if you read, hey, I do blah, 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 my link is blah, blah. So he'd do that same thing. He'd go up to people and read it, and they're like, so jarring,
get away from
me. Right? So if you think about actually being in front of someone and reading that, and you wouldn't say that to someone face to face, you probably shouldn't write it in a social media message, right? So
absolutely. And that's what Joshua talks about. He's just like, be a human.
Yeah. So I thought that was hilarious. Last but not least, you have a personal experience with this, and this is why you're so passionate about, Tiger and what you do. And you experience burnout, you experience silent killers as a busy executive running a very large company with a lot of people. So I'd love for you to just share your story for a second.
Yeah, my story is, I started out as a banker. That was a high stress job, a lot of expectations. Then I moved into the pet retail industry. I almost went out of business twice from growing too fast. Had a real estate project go upside down, and that took me and my two wonderful partners 10 years to overcome and pay back. And so the accumulation of all of that, plus just being a dad and a husband and raising two kids and all of the stress that come with that, I woke up, in my early 50s, numb, fatigued, no sleep for 10 years, in a bad spot. And my doctor actually said, look, you're going to have a major episode and, not live like you should, or as long as you should, if you don't make changes. That was my wake up call. I started working with a doctor out of LA who now is in Seattle at our clinic. And this guy rebuilt me from the bottom up. And through that, I realized, you work in you get educated in your 20s and get experience. You start a business and build a family in your 30s and 40s. And if you're not careful, you can create a lot of wealth, end up 50 and end up sick. And then you can get sick to the point where that wealth is no good to you anymore. And I got this from a book called Die with Zero. And the name of the author escapes me right now. But we use that. We talk about the health wealth trade-off, and you work so hard to get to this point. But if you want to enjoy your grandchildren and your children and do what you do better, do it longer, then you need to change how you think about health and quit looking at healthcare as what will my insurance pay for, because that model is only going to help you once you're sick. Okay. It's not designed for helping you before you get there. This is nothing bad about doctors or against them. They do what the system allows. What we wanted to do was create something where you could proactively become a health investor, just like you do with dentistry. You go in twice a year preventatively so you don't have problems 10 years from now. We wanted to give you a healthcare experience where we come alongside you and we help you with highly engineered behavior change, but rooted in good science to help you literally transform your body and your health, create an inner biology that turbocharges your immune system and enables you to have a longer health span. There's a health span and there's a disease span. And what we want to do is push that line out further and further where you're healthy, and shorter where you have disease, and also enjoy the wealth that you created much longer.
Yeah. And Bill Perkins, I just looked up the author. Bill Perkins is the author, Die with Zero. And first of all, thank you, Steve, for sharing your knowledge, for sharing the guests' expertise and stories and knowledge. I want to encourage everyone to go to tigerpi.com. If you're listening to this, there is a video and you go see this. And if you go to tigerpi.com/podcasts, you'll see all the latest episodes. Steve, is there any other places online we should point people to check out?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, just Stephen L. Adams. And then we also, Steve Adams, look for me on Facebook, just on my personal page. We have a great group called the Peak Performance for Mid-Career Professionals that we'd love to invite you into. But that would be it.
Great. Everyone check it out. And Steve, thanks so much.
Jeremy, thank you for being on the Tiger Performance Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Tiger Performance Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get the future episodes.